Thank you for listening to the Speaking Out on Sex Abuse podcast with hosts Clara and Jimmy Hinton. If you're new to the podcast, please look us up on your favorite podcast app, subscribe, like, and share so that you never miss an episode. If you'd like to further support us, visit patreon.com/speakingout and check out the different rewards. You'll find exclusive rewards if you sign up as a patron of the podcast. Thank you for your support, and let's get into the show. Wisconsin teacher gets 12 years for taking secret videos of students. That was in the news just this week.
Yes, it was.
Today we're going to talk about video voyeurism. And guys, have we got some shocking information for you. This is so common. I think we haven't even touched the tip of the iceberg for our knowledge in this area.
No,
is
we
so
haven't.
common.
As I started reading, Jimmy, and researching just a little bit, I was blown away by how common this is and how knowledgeable people are about it.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, first of all, we want to thank our patrons who make this podcast possible. You guys are awesome. You rock. We'll be recording an exclusive podcast right after we hit stop record on this one. That content is available for patrons only. That's why it's exclusive.
Right.
And that is just one of the rewards that, among many, that we give our patrons for making this podcast possible. Okay, so question, are you being spied on? Do you ever get that weird feeling? I travel. I stay at hotels.
I do. Yeah.
And I just stayed in Houston a couple weekends ago. And to be honest with you, not that I have anything to hide, but it's that invasion of privacy. And I just thought, I've read so many stories where people are putting hidden cameras everywhere. Everywhere. I was a little paranoid. Like, I actually swept my room and was looking for cameras.
I know what
honestly.
you're saying. I do that all the time. I'm kind of creeped out by the whole idea. And it's like you said, I don't have a thing in the world to hide. But when I'm sitting someplace with my feet propped up reading a book, I don't especially feel like being watched. When I'm changing clothes, getting ready for bed, I really don't want to be watched.
Right.
And it creeps me out. Now at work, where I work, I have a camera on me all the time.
See, I wouldn't like that.
Took me
not a chance.
Very long time to get used to that. And it just...
I guess it depends on the setting, though. I mean, that's your office isn't anything that's... There's nothing private going on.
No, but it's just the idea that I can't get up to walk across the room without I'm on video, you know, and it's recorded and it's there to stay.
Yeah.
And it just, it gives you a creepy feeling. That's all.
Well, I think about things like email. You know, if the camera's pointed a certain way, you can't check personal email. You know, like, it's just weird.
There's nothing private.
Yeah, I understand at a place like where you work, where you're dealing with money and, you know, people are in and out. I get it.
I get it, but I don't like it.
Yeah. But I mean, we're talking about people planting cameras.
Right.
Video voyeurism. So voyeurism, this is kind of an interesting thing. And man, this is not talked about enough. It's not researched enough. There's very little information that's out there on voyeurism.
Right.
Period. I had to dig and dig and dig and dig. I did find some really incredible resources, but man, there's not a lot out there. And the people who write about it say there's not hardly any research on this at all. You can't find anything.
It was interesting. Some of the links to the few articles that I did read would link you up to a camera that can be a little hidden camera. And I'm thinking, what in the world? You can plug in, it looks like a charger for your camera, and there's for your phone, a camera eye that's recording. Yeah. And it really makes you question everything and everybody.
Well, they're getting smaller and smaller. I mean, now, this is what I mean. When you hear about a camera that's as small as a pen, what they're talking about now is the tip of a pen. I mean, that little tiny circle, not this end, you know, the little tip of the pen, they're that tiny, and they are incredibly accurate. They're, super high quality. So, you know, we have this issue. This school teacher He was a business teacher by the name of David Crutchen, Krutchen. I'll put a link to the local article this just posted this week. He was arrested this week. And I thought this was interesting. I lifted this from the article. David Crutchen claims he began filming, quote, to deal with stress and fulfill a need of adrenaline. I don't know about you. Have you ever been stressed out before?
Once or twice.
Did that just make you go purchase all these hidden cameras and put them in little high school girls and boys' locker rooms and hotel rooms?
Actually, no.
Volunteer to lead field trips and plant cameras in the hotel rooms? Did your stress cause you to do that?
No.
I mean, what?
Haven't done that. When I read that article also, I just shook my head. He almost sounds convincing at one point, where
if you don't know any better,
he felt bad that his family was, he felt like they were talking about him.
So he wanted to hear what his parents and other relatives said behind his back.
It was nothing like watching until it kind of escalated, and then he began, he was a chaperone on all these overnight trips. And interestingly, he had hidden cameras all over the place.
Yeah, he was taking the cameras with him and setting them up in the kids' hotel rooms.
Obviously, it was very well planned out,
Absolutely.
thought out. Yes, yeah. So.
Yeah, so this guy, this is where I think if there are church leaders who are listening, and I know some do listen to this podcast, these are the kinds of excuses that you hear, and they do sound really convincing.
It did.
Well, I was just stressed out. I had a bad marriage, a loveless marriage, or whatever it is. And so this was my way of coping with the stress. Stress might make you drink, right? Not make you, but that might be a response.
Right. That might be a response. Stress. I keep thinking of family members of ours jogging,
right?
Bike
go out for a
riding,
hike or a walk.
Yeah, exercising,
right?
Like crazy, relieving the stress. But I don't know of anyone
who set up hidden cameras.
Right. And the way what made it almost comically believable was the way this teacher framed it. That I didn't start out that way. I started out by wanting to know what my family thought about me. Were they mocking me?
Yeah, which I don't buy for a second.
No, I don't either. Just ask them, talk. What are you guys thinking about?
Right.
What's going on? What's wrong?
Or put a recorder in your pocket. You don't need video.
Right.
You don't need video. Set up an audio recorder. If you're really worried about what they're saying behind your back, set up an audio recorder. You don't need video.
No, you don't need any of that. And for sure, you don't take that stuff and plant it in young people's rooms or anybody's room.
Right.
Period.
So he said in that article, too, I would be lying if I said there wasn't a hint of sexual gratification to this or something to that, sexual arousal. Well, gee, you think?
You think maybe?
My goodness.
Maybe, right.
All right, so how common is voyeurism? There's a Canadian group by the name of, this group is called Woman Means Something. Now, full disclosure, this group was started to combat Canada's Trans Bathroom Bill C-16. Full disclosure, they are against allowing trans people into bathrooms of the opposite sex that they were born biologically. I don't know where this group falls on the political spectrum, left, right, hard right. I don't know.
Doesn't matter.
What I do, and it doesn't matter.
Right.
And I want to talk about this for a second because I think it has relevance to what we're talking about. But this group, every article that they have on the website, they quote really credible sources, some of the top sources that are out there, and people who research pedophilia and sexual paraphilias. This is not some group that has an axe to grind and they're, transphobic, whack jobs, QAnon people. There's no hint of that. I mean, these are really educated people, from what I can tell, what little bit I looked at their website. But while we're on the subject, this idea of, their idea of opposing this bill that allows trans people to go into bathrooms of the opposite sex has nothing to do with the trans community. Let me say that again. It has nothing to do with the trans community. This is part of the problem within advocacy, and I think a lot of people have gotten so emotionally reactive that we've lost logic. And so they'll say things like, well, you're being dangerous to the trans community. You're transphobic. You're homophobic. You're, whatever it is. And we've talked about this on this podcast before. And I say, pull the brakes back a little bit, apply the brakes.
Settle down.
Take a breath, settle down, and listen. Listen to what we're saying. Listen to what this group is saying. And I agree with them.
I do too.
What they're saying is we value and respect the trans community, period. There is no room for bullying. There's no room for even segregation, strange as that sounds. There's no room for inequality and, hurting people within the trans community. We don't stand for that. The problem is when you know how pedophiles think.
Yep.
I know how my father thinks really well. And let me tell you, he would not hesitate to find a state that has a bill like C-16.
He would have loved this.
And he would have dressed up, made a complete fool of himself, and dressed up as a trans, even though he's not. He would have dressed up as a trans woman and walked into the bathroom. Why? Because his victims were all female, as far as we know. And 2, bathrooms are inherently the highest risk room when it comes to perpetrators acting out on their victims. And 3, my dad had a history of going into bathrooms and molesting little girls.
It would have been an open door policy, a playground, a glorious
Absolutely.
playground
And this
for
has
him and for any pedophile.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So, and I think one of the things that comes back is, well, you show the evidence that this is actually happening. It's interesting to me that when we talk about pedophilia, we say the vast majority of pedophiles never what?
Get caught.
They never get caught.
Right.
But now all of a sudden,
show me the
evidence that they're going into these bathrooms and they're molesting these kids and they're dressing up as a trans woman. You have male perpetrators that are dressing up as a trans woman. Show me the evidence that this is happening.
It's kind of called
the evidence is we know how they think.
Right. Use your brain. Think how they think. How would they think? How are they thinking? And what an opportunity this makes for them.
Exactly right.
What an opportunity.
So what's a solution to this? I think a good solution, in my opinion, is to offer these family bathrooms, which you're seeing more and more and more, that are they're open to any sex. I think that my opinion, I think just like wheelchair ramps are supposed to be made available in every public building. Right. These unisex bathrooms ought to be available in every single public space.
You're talking single stall,
Yeah.
Right.
It's the one room. They have it in the courthouse. The courthouse has. They have a men's restroom, a women's restroom,
and
then
family,
a unisex or a family restroom.
Right.
I think that people in the trans community ought to be given opportunity. If you can't let them go to the bathroom, I mean, there's a problem. So I see the arguments. I get it. Believe me, I get it. And I'm sympathetic to that. I really am. But I think just taking this blanket approach and calling people transphobic because they hold on to this belief for logical reasons, I think is kind of dangerous territory to stand on. So anyway, that's kind of my soapbox on that. So here's some old research that they list on the Woman Means Something website. And again, I'll link to this in the description of the podcast. Templeman, 1991, so this is an old study, found that no less than 42% of college men in a rural sample reported that they had engaged in voyeurism. 42% in 1991. This is before smartphones. This is before microscopic cameras. 42% of college men in the sample engaged in voyeurism.
Would you, for the sake of our listening audience, viewing audience, what is voyeurism?
Yeah, so voyeurism is viewing or setting up equipment to visually view somebody without their consent or without their knowledge and then it gives a list of different purposes. Your own sexual gratification, your own routine gratification, just getting a kick out of watching people when they don't know that you're watching them. Voyeurism is really messed up.
It's a messed up thing, and the laws are messed up with it, which I'm sure we'll get into.
We'll talk about that. Yeah. What laws?
Right.
I mean,
laws?
in a nutshell.
Right.
Here's another study. Bradford and others, 1992, reported that of 443 adult males studied, 115 admitted to voyeurism. Now, those are just the ones that admitted to it. That was cited from Kruger, which is tons of research.
We had a term when I was growing up, and I don't hear it used much anymore. Peeping toms. I mean, would be a voyeuristic act. Peeping toms. When you kids were in school, there were certain teachers that you would come home.
I have classmates
and you know for a fact that these teachers were practicing
peeping through holes in the wall.
They were peeping through, watching the girls changing in the gym.
So our locker rooms, the boys and girls were beside each other. They were just separated by a cinder block. Cinder block
concrete wall.
And there were
not
holes.
Enclosed either.
Nope, there were holes in the wall. And I had several friends, female friends, that reported a certain someone from our school.
And you know what was done? Nothing.
I know.
Absolutely nothing. And, okay, go ahead.
It's sick. So here's another study. This is not just one study, and these are not off-the-wall, whacked-out people. These are legitimate researchers who, I quote, Ryan Meany, 2007, found that 61% of the men in their university sample would engage in voyeurism if the likelihood of getting caught was 25%. So this is more hypothetical, but if you had a 1 in 4 chance of getting caught,
they're going to
would you do it?
Yeah.
Absolutely, I'd do it.
Yeah. This voyeurism is also linked to pornography, which I knew there would be a link even before I started reading about it. You figure a lot of the films that are made are done in such a way that a lot of what's filmed is not with consent often, and it gets spread all around, and you find, all kinds of pain that results from it. But go ahead.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing too. Like, there are starting to be laws with swift penalties, but not that many. Trust me, not that many. We'll talk about that in a second.
Right.
But the only reason is because victims are coming out saying how bad this traumatizes them. Post-traumatic stress disorder. Tons of victims. And I'm telling you guys, I've consulted with so many churches or trained churches where this comes out, where people talk about voyeurs in the church that were setting up hidden cameras and producing pornography with victims young and old. It really messes with their head, the victims, that is. It messes with their heads because it's such a violation of privacy. And you did not consent to it. It's a form of rape. It really is.
Thank you. That's exactly what I was going to say, Jimmy. It is taking somebody's innocence and really screwing with it and messing it up. And it's just to know that somebody was using you in such a way, it messes you up. It's horrible.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
And, I mean, to be blunt and to call it what it is, I mean, the perpetrators are masturbating to images and videos of you.
Right. And that's,
without your consent.
That does harm.
Without your knowledge. They're doing it.
It's the whole thing just being thought you're being used in that way. Yes. It's wrong.
Yeah.
Dead wrong.
So while voyeurism is illegal in all 50 states, it's still viewed as a very minor infraction in most states. And it's still very, 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 very difficult to get a conviction. I'll put a link again to the most recent list that I could find of the states and their voyeurism laws. This dates back to 2009. That's the most recent one I can find.
Yeah, I saw
That's
that.
insanity.
Mm-hmm.
And I dug deep.
These are little misdemeanors.
Yeah, in most states it's a misdemeanor, if that.
If that, most of the time, first offense, there's nothing.
Right.
There's absolutely nothing.
What did some of the states call it? There was a term for it. Then I don't even think it was called public indecency. I think it was just called indecency. And it was
it's nothing. It's a slap.
In some states
not
it's
even a slap.
not even a misdemeanor.
No.
Or it's the most minor misdemeanor. So the vast majority of people who are caught are let go with a warning because prosecutors have to prove, and I think this is insanity, they have to prove intent, that you intended to use this for whatever purpose, for self-gratification.
Right. Yeah.
They have to prove that, prove intent, and it doesn't stop there. They have to prove that the victims had a reasonable right to privacy. So, for example, and this is a route that a lot of attorneys, they're advertising it. Google this.
Yeah, I did.
You'll find tons of attorneys who are saying, if you're caught with a video, don't admit to anything because you can get off by saying that it wasn't your equipment.
Yeah.
They have to prove that you purchased the equipment and that you were the one who set up the equipment.
Right.
And had the intent to harm somebody or to self-gratify.
Right.
And they have to prove that the victims in that certain scenario had a reasonable right to privacy. So what does that mean? I'll give you an example. If somebody stays at an Airbnb, defense attorneys could argue that because it's a private residence, an Airbnb technically can't monitor and control every private resident's home. Victims cannot expect a reasonable right to privacy because they're in a stranger's home. They don't know who these people are.
Right.
You're the one who agreed to go to a complete stranger's home.
And that creeped me out when I heard that.
And they're getting off
It
because of
creeps me
this.
out. It just does. Because to think you're being watched while you're in, it's just,
I know.
wrong.
It's wrong on so many
It
levels.
is. Yeah.
So as I said, I've personally encountered voyeurism on multiple times as a trainer and a consultant. And I'm telling you guys, in my experience alone, in my limited experience alone, it's incredibly common. And these are just the ones that we know about.
Well, I looked on Amazon after doing a little bit of research, and I was blown away by the magnitude of cameras that are being sold as I call them little mini spy cameras.
Let me just look up. I did a search.
What they are.
Yeah, I did a search on Amazon. Hidden
really
camera.
are.
I typed in hidden camera. Look what comes up.
Oh,
here,
it's
on the screen. Look at these.
One after another after another. They're tiny. They're inexpensive. Look at that.
A USB,
$50.
USB charger. It looks exactly like the chargers for iPads and iPhones.
Yeah.
You cannot tell the difference.
No.
Here's an alarm clock. Look at that. Good luck finding that's
scary.
That has a camera in it.
I know that. I know.
For $49, $49.99.
Well, and I'm just thinking, who of us goes around inspecting every little thing like that? Or a pen? They have the pen over there.
Yep, there's the
they're
hidden
showing
camera.
all of this.
Hidden camera spy.
Who
spy
inspects
camera.
this stuff? We don't. And if we get to that point, we're going to be so paranoid, it's not even funny. There needs.
How about this one? Smoke detector.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah. There's no way I would ever look at a smoke detector and think there's
check this one out.
Camera in it.
This is the label for this, and again, $90. These are very reasonably priced.
They're inexpensive.
2K. Now I shoot video professionally. I've shot weddings and things like that. I shoot in 1080p because the human eye can't tell the difference, in my opinion. Human eye can't tell the difference between 1080p and 4K, which is like super high quality. This is shooting in 2K. I shoot in 1080p. So the videos that I just showed you of that wedding I did, that was 1080p. This is better quality than that.
That's crazy.
This is shot in
It
2K.
is just crazy.
This is a portable 10,000 milliamp power bank wireless charger. So the
Little flat
battery
chargers,
banks, that
you
people bring
lay
on
your phone
camping
on.
trips and whatever. Again, look at this thing. Good luck telling that there's a camera
I just
inside
picture
of
up people sitting around running these things, people not knowing, picking up conversations, and then, like if you're camping, how people use the bathroom in the woods, they change clothes in a tent or whatever. Just that being recorded without consent, and then what they can do with that, the videos they can put together, distribute them among people, it's a form of porn.
It is.
Yeah,
I mean, well, what about I don't know. Say that you're on a primitive camping site, or you're in a hotel room. Here, borrow my power bank.
Right.
It
just it gets me all riled up.
I know. It's I'm telling you, it's getting harder and harder to identify where these hidden cameras are. So cameras are getting smaller. They're getting smarter. They're getting easier to conceal. It's getting more difficult to detect, and it's getting easier to purchase. Anybody.
Some of the first ones you said were $45. I mean,
I know, they're cheap. You can buy $20 cameras that shoot in 1080p that are super high quality.
High quality, yeah.
So I guess before I talk about how we protect ourselves, because I want to end with that. I think that's really important because, we're all riled up, obviously.
I was going to say, I don't want to stay feeling like this. I need to know that there is a response, a good response to all of this craziness.
So I want to talk about this avenue, first of all. It is no secret that I clearly shout from the rooftops if somebody is a convicted sex offender, and especially a convicted pedophile sex offender, you should never, ever, 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 ever be allowed anywhere near children as long as people who have those children in their control have any say. So, for example, church, we have it written into our policy. If you are a pedophile registered sex offender, you are not welcome inside of our door when we have kids, period. Worship. What about worship service? Nope. What about if I have a chaperone and I stay out of the bathrooms and I stay out of the children's wing? Nope. And this is why.
Well, this is why, and some people might be sucking their breath and saying, you mean you would restrict people from worshiping?
Yeah.
No, it's online.
Right.
Watch it online.
With kids, I would. Right. Absolutely, I would.
Restrict where the worship is taking place, but you're not restricting worship.
That's right.
Watch the sermon online. That's right. Why online is there.
Yeah. And that's no less a valid worship experience for people. And we'll still provide community. We have that written into our policy. Right. I mean, if you're truly repentant, great. We will bend over backwards.
With children.
But, you're not getting near our kids. Yeah. And another reason that might sound unfair to people is because, well, what about prison? That, people change. They did their time, blah, 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 blah. Well, guess what? We know for a fact, I mean, plain and simple, we know for a fact that these people think about children sexually because they acted out on it. Right. They did it. And they don't, every researcher who's out there, known to mankind, says pedophiles never stop thinking about children sexually. Yep. They don't do it. So why in God's name would you open up your doors and be like, here's this smorgasbord of kids that we're going to put you in front of, knowing that voyeurism, college kids, college men, young men, that the majority of them back in the 90s admitted to being voyeurs before this technology is in their hands?
And now,
why would you do that?
If you look at people of any age, everybody's got a smartphone in their hand. I don't care what the age. I don't care what the age. So if we're thinking, well, people aren't going to be savvy enough. Oh, yes, they are.
Yeah.
They're 50 steps ahead of us.
You know what I thought of?
50 steps ahead of us.
While I was preparing for this, you know what I thought of? What came to mind?
No.
A family member of mine who got arrested.
Yeah.
and got
I
charges
thought of him
for taking upskirt pictures
Yep.
at church, whose father is also a pedophile.
in prison. Yes, as a very violent pedophile.
Right.
Very violent.
So if you
raping
think
young
this is
children.
uncommon, if you
No.
think this is something that
And it was
we're
done
just,
in church, by the way.
I know he
Yeah,
was taking
done
videos in church, and he got
yes,
and
he got caught.
think about
But-
these laws where it's really, really hard to get a conviction. This is not a mistake. This is not somebody who saw him taking pictures and, all of a sudden he was
would
framed.
bend down. He would bend down, apparently, and aim the camera in such a way that it took pictures under little girls' dresses.
Right, but here's the most important part about that. Those prosecutors had to prove intent.
Yeah.
They had to prove that he intended to do it.
Yeah.
And they had to prove that this reasonable, what's it called? The
Beyond reasonable doubt.
No, the reasonable privacy or whatever
Oh,
it's
yeah.
called. They had to prove that there was reasonable privacy for those reasonable rights to privacy for
Okay,
those
yeah.
victims,
Right.
and that there was intent to intentionally take these pictures
Nothing
for
happened to him,
self-gratification.
did it?
He got charges out of that, but I don't
Nothing,
know.
I mean,
Yeah, I don't
beyond.
know.
He didn't serve any time or anything.
I don't
like
think he
that.
ever went to jail. No, I think it was a slap
no,
on the
he
wrist.
Did not. Yeah.
I don't think he was registered as a
didn't.
sex offender. And these were kids.
Yeah.
So I'm telling you, if you think the law is on your side with this, if you think, well,
No.
we'll see how it plays out, and if this happens, they're going to face the justice system. No, they won't. No, they won't. It's up to you as a parent,
Right.
as a grandparent, as a caretaker, as a teacher, as a pastor, as any kind of a church leader. It is up to us.
We have to be 10 steps ahead. We really do.
Yes, we do.
We have to be on guard at all times, which is very scriptural, to watch for the wolves among us, obviously, to protect our sheep. But this is something that's not talked about. It's not gained any momentum, really. You
No.
think about it, it's kind of like way, way, way on the back burner. And yet in the wrong people's hands, which is happening,
Yep.
is gaining momentum, believe me.
Well, and I didn't even talk about this. I mean, I'm going to put this on your radar, and this is it would be another like 5 episodes in itself. But along with these is the ability to get apps put on your phone. Somebody else puts an app on your phone or puts some kind of spyware on it where they activate your camera. It's so easy to do that, guys. It is so easy to hack into a friend's phone, to be able to activate their camera and microphone. There are apps out there that do it. The other thing is the Rings. You see these Ring cameras
yeah,
everywhere.
yeah.
People do the Ring doorbells, but
Right.
now inside the home is really common. And I still remember this video from, I don't know, probably 2 years ago, I want to say. It's the guy that hacked into somebody's home Ring system, security system, and he was talking to this little girl, and he's like using vulgarities. He's given this string of really vulgar, perverted stuff to this little, I want to say 10-year-old girl, and she runs away screaming, and she goes and runs for her mom, and this is the kind of stuff that this guy activated the camera, he activated the microphone, and he activated the speaker in the system where he was able to talk to this little girl.
And keep in mind, these people are not dumb.
No.
I mean, I keep reminding myself over and over and over again. They study this constantly.
Yeah.
They study. They're aware of technology, how it can be used to their benefit. So pedophiles are not dummies when it comes to
Not at
this.
all.
No.
Not at all. So I'm going to link again to this article. This is called, this is from Forbes.com. It's called How to Find a Hidden Camera in Your House or Airbnb or Anywhere by TJ McCue, MCCUE. Excellent article.
I think that's a
And
really important one for
it's good.
everybody to read.
This is
pay
really good.
attention to, yes.
So 5 tips. Number 1, dial up your observation skills. Does an alarm clock look out of place on a shelf? Take a close look at that smoke detector. Then he gives all the different avenues where people put hidden cameras: smoke detectors, air filter equipment, books, wall decor, electrical blankets, desk plants, tissue boxes, stuffed teddy bears, couch cushions, tabletops and shelves, DVD cases, lava lamps, digital TV boxes, wall sockets, hairdryer holders, wall or alarm clocks. Guys, you can put this stuff anywhere. Pens. You can put these cameras anywhere.
Scary,
anywhere.
Isn't it? It's scary, isn't it?
Anywhere.
It really is. It really is.
So number one, do a sweep of your room. Number two, turn off the lights and use your smartphone flashlight to scan the room. Most camera lenses, even tiny ones, reflect light. Mm-hmm. So a light would create a reflection off the camera lens. Number three, get a network scanning app to find all the devices on a network. Of course, if the person setting up a hidden camera puts it on another network, you likely will not find it. But at least it gives you a chance. And he says that the best scanning scanning app out there for looking for networks is Fing, F-I-N-G, for both iOS and Android. Number four, unplug any specific device or cover them with a towel or stuff them into a drawer. If something feels out of place, listen to your gut.
Right. Yeah. I've done that before, by the way.
Yeah.
Put towel over something, that if it just feels like it's wrong, I've put towels over it. Yeah. I've done that.
Number five, buy a professional dedicated spy camera finding device. A quick search on Amazon for the product term RF signal detector will bring up a wide range. And again, I did a quick search on this.
I'm
You
going
can
to
find
get one of
all
those.
kinds. I'm going to see Granny pointing this thing every.
I'm getting all nervous here.
Your palms are a little
I
sweaty.
know.
There, Granny.
I'm like feeling really hot right now. I was getting ready to make a reservation in an Airbnb, and now I don't know if I want to or not.
I know, right?
Yeah.
All joking aside,
I'm not
this is a
joking.
real thing.
Yeah. I'm not joking.
It's too common, too easy to get access to this stuff. This is happening far more than you or I could ever imagine.
I think this episode is so important for us to simply bring awareness to us as to what's out there. And of course, you're going to end us on a note of positivity.
Yeah, right. No, we're all doomed. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I know.
Well, I wanted to say this before I give our truth bomb. On Amazon, they have this for every book, every product. You click on the link. So I'm doing this alarm clock right now. Hidden spy cam, wireless, Wi-Fi hidden camera, 1080p. Scroll down to where it has the seller information. And it will give a ranking. Okay, here it is. It'll give a ranking. So right now, this alarm clock, this particular alarm clock is number 100. It's selling right now in the last 60 minutes. They do 60-minute increments. It's selling number 196 in camera and photo products. And it's selling number 22. It's ranked number 22 in hidden cameras.
That blows me away.
And you can actually dig a little bit deeper and you can see where it ranks on Amazon overall. But let me tell you, for this to be ranked that high, I know from selling books and from watching them and knowing a little bit about numbers, there's not one or two of these an hour that's being sold. Mm-mm. Guys, there are hundreds of these right now being sold every hour. Guaranteed. And that's just the alarm clock. That's just this particular alarm clock.
That's scary. It really is, isn't it? It really is.
So,
I mean, there's your data. There it is, right there. There's the facts.
Yep.
When we look at that.
Yeah, look it up. Browse through some of these and look at how they're ranking on Amazon. And don't take my word for it.
Right.
Because, Jimmy, well, you're exaggerating. It's more common than we ever know.
It's not
yeah,
so.
Look yourself. The data's out there. Just you got to know how to dig for it. So what is our truth bomb besides for we're all doomed?
Besides, I'm getting one of those scammer
I know,
things.
Granny's getting an.
I know. I will get one in one of our exclusives. I'm going to talk about it. I will purchase it. I will. And for our exclusive members, we will kind of rip that thing apart and see how it's used and see what it finds.
The great reveal.
Yeah. See if it finds anything in my house. I'm nervous now.
I know.
Okay. So.
Well, here's our truth bomb for the day. Be aware that video voyeurism is incredibly common. far more common than we can imagine, and that the vast majority of offenders won't ever be caught or prosecuted. It's up to us to keep ourselves and our children safe. Becoming a victim of voyeurism has dire and lasting effects, so take prevention very seriously. I mean, I know we joked around. I know we laughed a little bit here at the end, but this is not, it's not a laughing matter. I mean, this is incredibly serious.
And I am serious about that, by the way.
I know, yeah.
I want to see, I would like to get one.
Scan the bathrooms at your job.
I am. I'm going to.
Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah.
So, all right. Well, thank you for tuning into this episode. We hope it was helpful, and we'll catch you next round.
Thanks again for listening to today's episode. A special thank you to our patrons who make this podcast possible. Please help us get the word out by searching for the Speaking Out on Sex Abuse podcast in your favorite podcast app. Be sure to hit subscribe and rate the show. Please consider supporting the podcast by becoming a patron and check out the rewards our patrons receive.